Have you ever prayed with all the sincerity of your heart, pouring out everything you were feeling before God, asking for guidance, comfort, strength, and answers? But when you finished praying, you realized that the emptiness was still there? Has it ever happened to you that you closed your eyes, sought God's presence, opened the Bible looking for a word for your situation, and still felt a silent sadness that seemed inexplicable? If you have experienced this, know that you are not alone, and what you are about to discover may surprise you. There's an experience many people go through, but few have the courage to admit. They continue attending church, continue praying, continue believing in God, and trying to do what's right. On the outside, they seem fine, but inside, they carry a weight that's hard to describe. It's as if there's an empty space within their soul that nothing seems to fill. And the more they try to ignore this feeling, the more it grows silently. Perhaps you are experiencing exactly this right now. Perhaps there is an emotional exhaustion that you can't explain. Perhaps you wake up tired even after sleeping, feel overwhelmed without understanding exactly why, or have the feeling that something inside you is slowly wearing away. And the hardest part is that often when this happens, the first conclusion that comes to mind is, maybe I'm drifting away from God. Or even worse, maybe God has drifted away from me. But is that really the truth? What if this emptiness isn't just a spiritual problem? What if there's an emotional and psychological explanation happening simultaneously? What if what you interpret as distance from God is actually the result of emotional wounds that haven't yet healed? Think about that for a moment. How many times have you tried to resolve emotional pain simply by increasing your spiritual efforts? How many times have you believed you needed to pray more, do more, strive harder, when perhaps there were other issues happening within you that needed to be understood? The truth is that many people carry guilt without realizing it. Guilt for past mistakes. Guilt for decisions they wish they could erase. Guilt for not being the person they imagined they should be. And this guilt can create an invisible barrier between what God says about them and what they believe about themselves. Little by little, they begin to feel unworthy, that they have failed too much, or that they have disappointed God. And when this happens, even moments of prayer can seem empty. Beyond guilt, there's something that has silently affected millions of people: emotional loneliness. And we're not just talking about the absence of company. We're talking about that feeling of being surrounded by people, and yet feeling that no one truly understands what's going on inside you. It's a loneliness that doesn't show up in photographs, doesn't show up in smiles, and is often not even noticed by those around you. But it exists, and it weighs heavily. Perhaps that's exactly why you feel this inner silence that you can't explain. Perhaps there are emotions kept inside, tears not shed, old wounds and pains that you've learned to hide so well that even you've begun to believe they're no longer there. But ignored emotions don't disappear. They just find other ways to manifest themselves. Sometimes through exhaustion, sometimes through anxiety, sometimes through this emptiness that seems to have no reason. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what we're about to explore could completely change how you interpret what you're feeling. There's a deep connection between your emotional life and your spiritual life, and understanding this connection can reveal answers you may have been searching for a long time. And before we continue, I'd like to extend a very special invitation. If you're listening to all of this and, in some way, identified with these words, leave a comment below with just one sentence or even a single word that describes how you've been feeling lately. Perhaps it's tired, empty, confused, overwhelmed, or even hopeful. Often, when we share what we carry in silence, we discover that we are not the only ones facing certain struggles. In fact, one of the most beautiful things about this community is realizing that there are other people going through similar challenges, seeking similar answers, and try to understand their emotions in the light of the Bible. Your comment might be exactly what someone needed to read today to realize they are not alone on this journey. If this content has resonated with you so far, please consider giving it a like. It may seem simple, but it helps far more than most people realize. Each like shows a platform that this message deserves to reach other people who are also facing emotional exhaustion, feelings of guilt, loneliness, emotional wounds, or that hard-to-explain feeling of being distant from God. And if you wish to continue exploring themes like these, better understanding the connection between emotional health, faith, spirituality, and the challenges of inner life, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel. This space was created precisely for people who want to understand what they're feeling without ignoring either the psychological or spiritual dimension of their experiences. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content. Every comment, every like, and every new subscription helps to get this message to someone who may be facing a silent battle right now. Because the truth is, there are pains that almost no one sees. There are questions that many people carry in secret. And perhaps what you're feeling today has much more meaning than it seems at first glance. And it's precisely here that our conversation begins to get even deeper. Now I want to delve even deeper into the subject, because there's a hidden truth that many people never realize. For years, they believe that the emptiness they feel is a sign that their faith is weak, that they are not praying enough, or that God is distant. But in many cases, what is happening behind the scenes of the mind and heart is far more complex than that. Think about how many people wake up early every day, fulfill their responsibilities, work, take care of their families, face challenges, attend church, and maintain a seemingly healthy spiritual routine. On the outside, everything seems normal, but there's a silent battle raging inside them. It's like carrying an invisible weight that no one sees. A weight that accumulates little by little through worries, disappointments, life's pressures, and expectations that were never met. The problem is that the human mind wasn't created to carry all of this alone. Every unresolved frustration leaves a mark. Every ignored sadness leaves an emotional residue. Every constant worry consumes inner energy. And there comes a point when the soul begins to show signs of overload. Many people call this a lack of motivation. Others call it discouragement. Some believe they have lost God's presence. But in reality, they may be facing something that psychology knows very well: emotional exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of a silent journey. It's the accumulation of months or even years of trying to be strong all the time. It's the habit of hiding pain so as not to worry others. It's the constant need to keep moving forward even when the heart is begging for rest. And when this exhaustion sets in, the perception of reality begins to change. The person no longer feels joy in the things that once inspired them. Their energy diminishes. Their hope weakens. And even their spiritual life may seem different. Perhaps that's why so many people conclude that God has turned away from them. But is it really God who has turned away? Or has the weariness become so intense that it's become difficult to perceive His presence? This question changes everything. Because there is a huge difference between being distant from God and being emotionally exhausted. Often, people interpret the symptoms of a weary soul as signs of spiritual abandonment, and this creates a painful cycle. The emptier they feel, the more they believe they are failing. The more you believe you are failing, the more guilt you carry. And the more guilt you accumulate, the more distant you feel. This is where another extremely important element emerges: destructive guilt. There is a healthy guilt that helps us recognize mistakes and make changes. But there is also a guilt that imprisons. A guilt that transforms regret into permanent condemnation. A guilt that makes a person believe they will never be good enough. Perhaps you know this feeling. Perhaps there are decisions from the past that still occupy space in your mind. Perhaps there are words you wish you had never said. Perhaps there are choices that, if you could go back in time, you would make differently. And without realizing it, you continue to punish yourself for something that happened a long time ago. The impact of this is profound, because when someone begins to see themselves through the lens of guilt, they also begin to see God through that same lens. The person thinks, if I can't forgive myself, maybe God hasn't forgiven me either. And little by little, a feeling of detachment arises that doesn't always correspond to reality. But guilt rarely comes alone. It's often accompanied by another equally powerful feeling: emotional loneliness. That feeling of being surrounded by people, and yet feeling that no one truly understands your inner struggle. And when that feeling grows, something even deeper begins to happen within the soul. Comment below, this makes sense to me. And perhaps the most important message of everything we've discussed today is this: you don't need to pretend you're okay to be loved by God. You don't need to hide your wounds, mask your pain, or feign a strength you can no longer sustain. God knows the battles that take place within you, including those that no one else sees. And the fact that you are facing a moment of emptiness, weariness, or confusion doesn't mean your story is over. Often, it is precisely in these moments that one of the most profound transformations of our journey begins. If this message touched your heart, write just one word in the comments. Hope. I want to know how many people have made it this far and are determined to keep walking, even amidst their silent struggles. And if you watch until the end, you can also write, "This message was for me." I enjoy reading these comments because they show that there is a community of people seeking to understand their emotions in the light of the Bible with sincerity and courage. If this content helped you see something you might not have noticed before, please leave a like. It's a simple way to show that this conversation made sense to you and also helps this type of message reach other people who may be facing the exact same questions and feelings. And if you want to continue learning about emotions, faith, emotional health, purpose, and spiritual growth in a deep and practical way, subscribe to the channel. We still have many important topics to explore together, always seeking to unite biblical truth with what happens within the human heart. And before you leave, there's a video here that perfectly complements everything we've discussed today. Perhaps it will answer a question that's still on your mind or help you take another step on this journey of understanding and restoration. Click on it and continue with me there. I have a feeling that the next message might be exactly what you needed to hear right now.